Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we aren't just looking at a document. We're looking at a doorway.
That's a great way to put it.
We are opening a file that, once you really understand what's inside, makes the physical world look a little bit, well, translucent.
It really does. It changes the opacity of everything around you. It makes the solid walls of your life feel a little more like curtains that can be pulled back.
And we are focusing on a very specific moment in time. We are pulling from the archives, specifically session 200 of the early sessions, book 5 of the Seth material.
Okay.
This was recorded on October 20th, 1965.
Mid-60s, upstate New York. It's got that whole vibe.
Exactly. So for everyone listening, I want you to just kind of set the mood. It's autumn. There are probably leaves on the ground in Elmira. It's a Wednesday night specifically.
Right.
Inside an apartment, you have a man, Rob, or Joseph as he's called in the sessions, sitting there with his pen and notebook. And his wife, Jane referred to as Rupert, is pacing the room. She's speaking. But the voice isn't entirely her own.
And the content of this specific session is, well, it's a masterclass in what we might call domestic magic.
That's a great way to put it, because it's not thunder and lightning. It's intimate. It's about dreams and, husbands annoying their wives and vacations.
Everyday stuff.
But underneath that domesticity, there is this current of absolute high strangeness.
High strangeness is right. We're going to cover telepathy that is validated by a salesman, remote viewing that crosses an ocean to a specific hotel room, and dream analysis that happens before the dreamer even speaks a word about it.
And a moment involving a knife that honestly gave me a chill when I read the transcript. It's a reminder that this isn't all, sunshine and rainbows.
Definitely not.
But before we get into the spookiness, we have to handle the necessary business. This deep dive will be distributed free of charge on all major platforms for educational purposes.
And we must give full credit where it is due. This is the work of the Seth material and the publisher, the New Awareness Network. We are exploring their archives today, and we are incredibly grateful for the access.
So, the mission. We are exploring the premise that consciousness is not locked in your skull. It's fluid. It travels. And apparently, it knows what you dreamed about last night, even if you kept it a secret from everyone you know.
That is the core thesis. We're dealing with the non-local nature of the mind, the idea that you are not just located behind your eyes, you are a field that extends outward.
Let's jump right into the room. The session starts, and frankly, the vibe is a little grumpy.
It is. It's so human. Rob is annoyed.
He's complaining about a publisher, Frederick Fell. Apparently, there were some business tactics or delays regarding a book contract that Rob didn't appreciate. He's grumbling at supper time.
Right.
And I love this because it grounds the whole thing. You're about to channel an entity from another dimension who has access to the secrets of the universe. But first, let me vent about my boss.
It's crucial context. People tend to think of these sessions as these, wholly detached rituals where everyone is wearing white robes and running.
Very serious.
But they were woven into the fabric of a normal marriage. They were stressed about bills, work, and contracts, just like anyone else.
It makes it more real. If they were pretending, they'd probably try to make the setting more mystical. But no, Rob is just ticked off about work.
But look at how quickly they pivot. Jane, or rather Seth, comes through. And he doesn't dwell on the complaints. He moves right past the grumbling to validate a little experiment Jane had tried the day before.
Yes.
This is the drug salesman story.
I love this story. It's so mundane, yet so impressive. Break it down for us.
Right. So let's rewind to Monday, October 18th, 2 days before this session. A friend of theirs, John Bradley Seth, refers to him as Philip in the transcripts, had visited them.
And he's a traveling drug salesman.
A traveling drug salesman, which in the 1960s was a very common profession. He leaves the apartment to go do his rounds.
And Jane decides, seemingly on a whim, I'm going to see what he's doing.
She doesn't sit in a dark room with a crystal ball. She doesn't chant.
No. She's ironing.
She's doing chores, she's pressing shirts, listening to pleasant music on the radio. And while she's doing this mundane task, she decides to tune in to John Bradley. She just lets her mind drift.
It's amazing. She writes down 13 impressions, just random thoughts that pop into her head about his day. Things like he's buying coffee, or he's talking to a specific person, or he's at a certain type of location.
Just little flashes of imagery.
And the result is statistically significant. John comes back later that day, and they check the list against his actual day. They go through it item by item.
10 out of 13 were correct.
10 out of 13. That is a wildly high batting average for random guessing. If I tried to guess what you were doing 3 hours ago, I'd maybe get working right.
Maybe.
But specific details, 10 out of 13.
It's impossible for random guessing. And Seth, in session 200, brings this up immediately. He starts the session by addressing this. He says, quote, "The results of the Philip experiment were quite adequate."
Quite adequate. I feel like that's high praise coming from a multidimensional teacher.
Yeah.
He's not doing backflips, but he's acknowledging the hit.
It is high praise. But why does Seth care? That's the deeper question. Why does a non-physical entity care if Jane can guess what a salesman is doing while she's ironing?
Well, he explains it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It's not about the salesman. It's about confidence.
Exactly. He says it is about boosting confidence, particularly where distance is a factor. He calls it training for psychic realities.
It's like resistance training for the mind.
Yes. You have to learn to trust the signal. When you're ironing and you get a flash of an image, maybe a coffee cup or a street sign, your logical brain usually says, that's just my imagination, that's noise.
Right, you dismiss it.
Seth is trying to teach Jane and Rob, and us, that the imagination is actually a receiver. You have to trust that the random thought isn't noise, it's data.
So the lesson here is that imagination might be a misnomer. We think we are creating these images, but maybe we're perceiving them.
Precisely. And the fact that she was ironing is so important. Her conscious mind was distracted. She wasn't trying too hard. She was in a flow state. That's usually when this information slips through the cracks of the ego.
Speaking of data coming from the subconscious, let's move to the next segment. Seth shifts from the telepathy experiment into analyzing a dream Jane had. This is the green jacket dream.
This is one of my absolute favorite metaphors in the early sessions. It's so visually simple, but conceptually so deep.
Unpack this for us. What happens in the dream?
Jane dreams she's in an apartment building, but inside this apartment there is a shop, a store. Seth explains the symbolism immediately. He says the shop represents the physical dimension itself.
The physical
The
dimension.
marketplace of physical reality we all live in.
So Earth is a mall.
In a way, yes. It's a place of exchange, of goods, of choices. And Jana Rubert, her male dream self, is shopping. She is browsing through the options of physical existence.
And she finds a jacket.
A green, warm jacket. And in the dream, she's ecstatic because she thinks it's on sale. She thinks, wow, this is cheap. I can afford this.
Which is a feeling we can all relate to. Finding a bargain is a universal joy.
But Seth corrects her interpretation. And the correction is profound. He says that the jacket only seemed cheap because she didn't realize she had already paid for it.
That's such a cryptic line until you unpack it. I want to read the quote here. Seth says, "Here he found an excellent jacket which he realized was his own from a previous season."
From a previous season. Think about that phrasing. It's not a new purchase. It's something she already owned.
So what does the jacket represent? It's obviously not just polyester and wool. What is she actually putting on?
Seth is very specific. He says the jacket represents a new ability, something Jane is about to discover in herself or start using in her life.
A new talent.
But here's the key takeaway. It's not actually new.
It's recycled.
It's re-remembered. It is an ability she possessed in a past life. It was left unused for a while, left in the closet, so to speak, and now it is waiting for her to put it back on.
I love the implication of that.
Mm-hmm.
It suggests that when we learn something or when we feel a sudden talent for something, whether it's music or math or psychic ability, we aren't building from scratch.
No.
We're just putting on an old coat that fits us perfectly.
It changes how you view learning. It's not acquisition, it's retrieval.
Right.
You aren't forcing information into your brain, you are remembering what you already know. And Seth says this jacket will bring her warmth and confidence and protection.
It's a very comforting image. It's not a scary supernatural power. It's a warm coat. It protects you from the elements.
Exactly. It frames psychic ability not as this alien invasion of the mind, but as a natural, cozy layer of protection that belongs to you.
But the dream gets weirdly specific about who is in the shop with her. There are these men.
Yes. Jane dreams of these men who are friendly, smiling. They seem to know her. And Seth drops a little lore bomb here. He says, quote, "When he leaped so gracefully from the banister, I was the one who extended an arm to assist him."
Wait, Seth was in the dream.
He was. But he wasn't a disembodied voice or a cloud of smoke or a ball of light. He appeared as a man from a previous existence.
And the description gives us a totally different view of Seth. Usually people imagine this booming, ancient voice, maybe a wizard with a white beard or some, biblical figure.
Not at all. Jane describes him after the trance. She says he was young, short, slim, well-proportioned,
Yeah.
olive skin. Very smooth, beautiful olive skin.
So Seth was a handsome young guy.
Apparently so. Jane remembers him being very graceful. He helped her off the banister. It's a charming, almost flirtatious interaction. He's suave.
It really humanizes the entity. It makes the
Yeah.
relationship feel less like master and student or God and disciple and more like old friends hanging out at a shop.
That is exactly the phrase Seth uses. He says these people in the dream were good friends indeed in a past life.
Wow.
It emphasizes that these connections span across time. You don't lose your friends when you die, you just meet them in different costumes later on.
It's reassuring. It suggests that the people we click with instantly in this life, you know that feeling when you meet someone and you just know them?
Yes.
Maybe that's just recognizing an old friend from a previous season, to use Seth's term.
And that you are never really navigating the shop of life alone. There are friends there, even if you don't consciously recognize them at first.
So we've got the warm, fuzzy feelings of meeting old friends and finding cool vintage jackets. It feels very safe. It feels domestic. But now
Now it's time to travel.
we have to leave the apartment. We have to leave Elmira, New York. We're going to verify this distance claim. Let's go to Puerto Rico.
This is the segment where the session gets incredibly precise. And for the skeptics listening, and I know you're out there, this is the part to pay attention to. Because this isn't vague horoscope stuff. This is specific data.
The setup is this. Friends of theirs, Bill and Peggy Gallagher, are on vacation in Puerto Rico.
And they made a pact with Rob and Jane before they left. No letters, no postcards, no phone calls.
Total radio silence.
They agreed to it specifically to see if Seth could track them psychically.
This is the envoy test. They're the envoys sent out into the world.
Right. So Jane is sitting in Elmira, eyes closed, speaking at Seth, and Seth starts describing where the Gallaghers are right now, in that moment.
And we have to remember, this is 1965. There is no Instagram. There is no check-in feature on Facebook. There is no email.
Nothing.
Rob and Jane have literally zero way of knowing this information through normal channels. If the Gallaghers changed hotels, Rob would have no way of knowing.
And that's exactly what happened. Seth starts by correcting the previous session. He says, quote, "They are sleeping in a different room than they were at our last session."
He's tracking their hotel logistics from hundreds of miles away.
He says it's close to water, rear of the building, and then he gets visual. He sees a tree outside the window, a bushy sort of tree with something like spikes on it.
Spikes. That sounds like a palm or some kind of tropical flora that wouldn't be in Elmira in October.
Very specific. Spikes is a great descriptive word because it's not a botanical term. It's a visual impression. It's what you would say if you were looking at a strange tree and trying to describe it.
But then he goes into what they did that day. He mentions a theater. He says they saw a motion picture.
This is fascinating. He doesn't give the title, which is interesting. He describes the impression of the plot. He says it was about a woman with lovers and a cripple, or perhaps a dwarf.
That is oddly specific. A woman with lovers and a cripple or a dwarf.
It's the kind of detail you can't really guess. A romance movie is a guess. A Western is a guess.
Right.
A movie with a dwarf and lovers is a specific data point. You either saw that or you didn't. It's a fingerprint of the experience.
And then he zooms in on their shopping.
He says they purchased a crucifix, a small one, to be worn on a chain.
Okay, so we have a location change, a spiked tree, a specific movie plot involving a dwarf, and a specific item of jewelry, a small crucifix.
And a meal. He describes the restaurant. Wide windows, blinds closed against the sun, one extremely long window at the front.
It's like he's sitting at the table with them. It's incredible.
But here's where it gets into high strangeness territory. This is the detail that seals it for me. This is the impossible hit.
Okay.
Seth says, quote, "Your friends, my friends, the Jesuit and the cat lover," those are his nicknames for the Gallaghers, by the way,
The Jesuit and the cat lover. I love that.
"they ate with Peggy's sister and husband, or they talked about them during the meal in an immediate fashion."
Wait, Peggy's sister.
Here is the kicker. Rob and Jane knew Peggy's sister had just gotten married, but they did not know she was in Puerto Rico.
They didn't know.
No. Rob and Jane assumed the sister was somewhere else entirely. Unknown to them, the sister and her new husband had also decided to go to Puerto Rico on their honeymoon.
So Seth is picking up on a connection that the physical Rob and Jane have absolutely no knowledge of.
Exactly. It's a double blind hit. If Jane were just subconsciously reading Rob's mind, she wouldn't have seen the sister because Rob didn't know the sister was there.
Right. He couldn't have been the source.
If Jane was just guessing based on logic, she wouldn't have guessed the sister was there. Seth says they were thinking of them very strongly.
And he adds a detail about the sister's new husband, right?
Yes. He says the new husband has a squat build and uses his hands often in work. He's profiling a man that Jane and Rob have never met or seen.
It's fascinating because Seth says, "Your friends, my friends." He claims ownership of the friendship, too.
He does. He seems very fond of them. He even cracks a joke later saying Bill Gallagher would make a poor Jesuit indeed, probably referencing whatever fun or perhaps debauchery they were having on vacation.
He's teasing them from across the ocean.
He is.
So we have this incredible remote viewing happening. It feels triumphant. Look at what consciousness can do. It can see movies. It can find sisters in Puerto Rico. It can describe trees. It's a superpower. It makes you feel like the universe is open.
But then the session shifts. And this is where we have to talk about the lack of filters. Because if you open the door to everything, you let everything in, the good and the bad.
It does. We move from the sunny Caribbean, from the spiked trees and the fun movie, to something darker, much closer to home.
We move to Dr. Instream.
Who is Dr. Instream?
He's another target, someone they were trying to track psychically for practice. He was a colleague or acquaintance of theirs, a professor, I believe.
And the vibe immediately changes. Seth says, "I believe this evening our Dr. Instream is a little late."
He describes him getting out of a car, a Buick, Seth thinks. He's been at a formal affair at the college. He's had drinks.
It sounds chaotic. Seth says there is confusion in his mind.
He's rushing. He goes to his office. He speaks to a man in the hall. And Seth describes this man as a nuisance, an impediment.
You can feel the frustration. Instream is annoyed. He just wants to get home.
Then the scene shifts to his home. His wife drives him. He's on the veranda, smoking.
And then?
Seth notes a brief disagreement between him and his wife. Domestic tension. It's not a happy scene.
And then comes the line that stopped me in my tracks when I first read it.
Yes. Seth says, he goes to his room and tries to contact us. He thinks of a knife.
He thinks of a knife.
It just hangs there in the transcript, doesn't it? It just sits there on the page.
It really does. It's shocking. It's so visceral. What do we make of that?
Well, in the context of remote viewing, strictly scientifically, it's just data. It's an image in the subject's mind. Seth is just reporting what he sees. But emotionally, it's heavy.
Is it suicidal ideation? Is it anger? Is it just a random intrusive thought?
We don't know, and that is the terror of it. It highlights the total lack of privacy in telepathy. If you really could read minds, you wouldn't just get the grocery lists or the movie plots or the pleasant surprises.
No.
You'd get the dark stuff. You'd get the flash of anger, the intrusive thought about a weapon, the moments of despair.
It makes you realize why we have walls between our minds. Maybe those walls are there for a reason.
Precisely. It strips away the social mask. We all have dark thoughts that flash through our heads that we never act on. But if someone is listening in, they hear it, they see the knife.
Rob, to his credit, keeps the session moving. He doesn't gasp. He doesn't stop. He asks, "Do you have a test for us, Joseph?" And Rob says, "No. Let's go back to the dreams."
Maybe Rob was a little freaked out too. It's like, okay, that got too real. Enough about the knife. Let's talk about my dreams.
Which leads us to the final and perhaps most amusing segment of the night, the unspoken dreams.
Yes.
This is the climax of the strangeness for me. Because up until now, Seth is reading people far away. Now he's reading the guy sitting 3 feet away.
So Rob Joseph had 2 very vivid dreams just before the session started.
But he didn't tell Jane.
He didn't tell her a single word. He wrote them down in his notebook, kept his mouth shut. He wanted to see if Seth could pull them out of his head without any verbal prompts.
A secret test. A final exam for the night.
And Seth? Well, Seth basically says, challenge accepted. He doesn't even wait for Rob to ask.
Seth starts analyzing the dreams before Rob even brings them up.
He says, quote, "Your own dreams, just written down, have to do with the change of pace on your part."
And he starts nailing the details. Rob had a dream about a young artist, a blonde man drawing on watercolor paper.
Seth identifies an unknown or not seen man who has to do with Rob's goals. He connects the art to Rob's work.
Rob had another dream about a blue Ford station wagon. It was up on a hoist, broken apart. The radiator was out. There was broken glass on the path.
And Seth talks about a road and a pulling away. But here's where the comedy comes in. Rob gets excited.
He can't help himself. He's the scientist trying to verify the data. He wants to help. He wants to say, yes, that's it.
Rob starts trying to confirm things. He says, I don't remember that. Or he asks a mental question to clarify. He interrupts the flow.
And Seth scolds him.
He does. This is my absolute favorite part of the session. Seth says, quote, "You should not comment. For when you do so, you leave us open because you give clues.
It's like a teacher shushing a student. Stop talking. You're ruining the experiment.
It's hilarious because Seth is this disembodied consciousness, but he's annoyed that Rob is being a chatty Cathy and potentially spoiling the scientific validity. He says, you give clues, and these clues do help in any case, my dear friend.
He's admitting, look, if you talk, Jane's subconscious might guess it. Let me do the hard work. I want the credit. I want to show you I can do this without your help.
And then Seth takes a shot at Jane, or rather, Jane's ego.
The belligerent ego.
Seth says, Rupert's ego reared its rather belligerent head during break. However, even this head is more kindly of late.
That is such a complex dynamic. You have the husband, the wife, and the entity speaking through the wife, all bickering slightly about who is ruining the test. It's like a sitcom with a ghost.
But the analysis of the car dream is actually quite profound. Seth interprets the broken car and the hoist, not as a disaster, but as a change of pace, a pause, a necessary one.
He connects the road to the distance between lives, the broken glass on the path.
Right. He elevates a dream about a broken radiator into a metaphor about reincarnation and the transition from one set of parents to another. He says the road is the path the personality takes.
And he catches the colors. Rob noted the dreams were very vivid in color. Seth mentions the quickening intensity of the colors.
It's a clean hit. Rob didn't mention the car. He didn't mention the colors. He didn't mention the artist. Seth pulled all of it directly from Rob's mind while Rob was sitting there trying to stay quiet.
It's a lot to take in. In 1 hour, 60 minutes of tape, we have a salesman validation, a green jacket metaphor about past lives, a trip to Puerto Rico with verified details, a depressed doctor with a knife, and a broken blue station wagon analyzed as a metaphysical symbol.
And threading it all together is this voice, this personality that is witty, observant, and seemingly omnipresent.
So let's zoom out. What does Session 200 actually teach us? Why does this matter to the listener today in 2026?
I think it teaches us about the fluidity of information.
How so?
Look at the examples. Jane gets information from John Bradley while ironing. Seth gets information from Puerto Rico while Jane is in a trance. Seth plucks images from Rob's mind while he's sitting right there.
Distance doesn't matter.
Exactly. Physical proximity is irrelevant to consciousness. You can be in the same room or 1,600 miles away. The connection is the same. The data is available if you know how to tune the dial.
And time seems fluid, too. The green jacket represents a skill from the past available now.
That's the most empowering part for me. The idea that we aren't just what we've learned in this lifetime. We are walking around with pockets full of skills and abilities from centuries of experience, just waiting to be rediscovered.
It makes you wonder what you're good at that you just haven't tried yet.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I was a great archer in 1400 and I just need to pick up a bow.
Or a quantum physicist,
Yes.
or a healer, or a musician. The potential is there.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I struggle with the tip calculator.
But the potential is there. That's the point. The jacket is in the closet. You just have to put it on. You have to go into the shop.
And the other takeaway for me is the humor. Seth isn't some terrifying ghost. He's funny, he's sassy, he calls out Rob for giving clues, he gossips about the Gallaghers.
It humanizes the metaphysical. It suggests that spirituality or higher consciousness doesn't mean losing your personality. It doesn't mean becoming a robot.
Right.
You can be enlightened and still crack a joke. You can be a multidimensional entity and still have an opinion on your friend's vacation.
You can be a spirit guide and still think your friend would be a terrible Jesuit.
Precisely. It brings the spiritual down to earth. It makes it accessible.
Before we wrap up, we need to tell you where to go if this has piqued your curiosity. And it should. We've only scratched the surface of what Seth has to say.
Absolutely. This is just one session out of hundreds. There are volumes of this material. You need to go to the source.
We strongly encourage you to study the Seth material books. Go to the New Awareness Network website, the bookstores at sethcenter.com/early sessions.
Read the raw transcripts. See the evolution of this experiment. It is one of the most comprehensive documentations of paranormal phenomena in history.
And remember, this deep dive is just a sketch. The real depth is in the books.
We're just the tour guides pointing out the scenic overlook. You have to hike the trail.
I want to leave you with a final thought today. We talked about the green jacket, the symbol of an ability from a past life that is waiting to be worn again.
It's a powerful image.
So as you go about your week, pay attention to what feels familiar. Pay attention to what comes easily to you, maybe more easily than it should.
Ask yourself, are you wearing a jacket you don't remember buying?
Exactly. What abilities are you carrying around right now, just waiting for you to zip them up and use them?
And who might be helping you off the banister in your dreams?
That's the question. Thanks for diving deep with us.
See you in the next session.
Stay curious.